The remorseless Russian advance. To escalate or negotiate is now the question. Vladimir Putin ordering a change to the status of deterrence forces, which includes nuclear weapons, because of what he called Western and NATO aggression.
That's why I order the Defence Minister and Chief of General Staff to move Russia's deterrence forces to high combat alert.
And yet, just possibly, peace talks. The day began with Ukraine rejecting an offer to talk in Belarus. But as war rages night and day across the country, the chance of talks now at the Belarus-Ukrainian border. Ukraine's President Zelensky said this morning, we want peace and will talk anywhere else except a country which is attacking us. Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, overnight, the rolling thunder of multiple missile strikes. Vladimir Putin wants to destroy Ukraine's identity. In reality, he's promoting it. Russian troops on foot in Kharkiv, using armored vehicles for cover. And here's why. Ukrainian ground forces, they pretty much only have ground forces, engaging Russians with rocket-propelled grenades and a machine gun. Russian tanks carve up the lawns around the city's tower blocks.
These are the Russian troops with a Z on their vehicles. They're stopping in our courtyard. My God.
In Kharkiv, Ukrainian forces inspect a convoy they've destroyed. This came from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And a caution here, Russian soldiers are banned from filming, and Ukrainians are not showing images of their soldiers being killed, wounded. And they are, of course, vastly outgunned, outnumbered. 4 days, and this is what President Putin has to show for it. Of course, all these red areas gained by Russia will now move inward, deeper into Ukrainian territory, whilst attempting to join up. But it's here in Kharkiv, the eastern city in Ukraine, which has seen the heaviest fighting in the past 24 hours.
I'm Vladimir Klitschko, and I'm addressing the entire world to stop this war that Russia has started. You need to act now to stop Russian aggression with anything you can have now. In an hour, or by tomorrow, it's going to be too late.
Tower blocks and houses are being hit. This was a blood donor center damaged by an attack. At least 4 civilians were killed in this strike in the northeast of the country. President Zelensky has likened it to genocide.
We have to call things by their names. The criminal acts of Russia against Ukraine bear signs of genocide. I talked about this with General Secretary of the UN. Russia is on a path towards evil. The world has to start depriving Russia of its right to vote in the UN Security Council.
And so, in the second city, Kharkiv, in Europe, in the 21st century, we have a children's hospital, filmed in recent days, moved to a bomb shelter. There's a mattress over there. Go to bed, she says. Shan't, says the child. Facilities in here range from the non-existent to primitive. Over the border in St. Petersburg, yesterday across Russia, it was around 3,000 people arrested for protesting against a war they say is Putin's, not theirs. Today, 900 more dragged and beaten into custody across 44 Russian cities. The latest figure, 4,124 detained. No to war, they chant. It will grow and grow unless the talks on which so very much depends can somehow deliver us.
It is full of those fleeing the war and hoping to cross the border into nearby Poland.
There are many new human front lines in this war, and we went to see one of them. the grand train station in Lviv, transit hub for desperate humanity fleeing the fighting everywhere else in this country, in one direction, west. Everyone has a supercomputer in their hand, but it can't spirit you away from here. So your husband will stay here?
Yeah, he will stay here and
Why?
go to
fight?
the fight, yeah.
He will stay here to fight?
Yeah.
And you will go with your daughter?
Yeah, to the Poland.
But what have you left behind? What was your existence before?
Like all of my life. I left behind all of my plan to my life. So I will build my life again, like from zero.
One step at a time. Next, platform 3, waiting for the 11:45 to Poland. One-way tickets only. The journey from citizen to refugee. From sanity to insanity. And all this is on you, Vladimir Putin. If these images were in black and white, you'd say this is a typical refugee scene from the Second World War. But it's in color, and it's happening here in the year 2022, in the heart of Europe.
And when all the time my colleagues were worried, international colleagues, about me and asking, maybe you should not go to Ukraine, something can happen, I was, no guys, this is not possible. We are in 21st century in the middle of Europe, nothing like this can happen.
And now it has.
And it has, and I'm now not that positive anymore. Same was my approach in the first 2 days, like, okay, I wait, this will be stopped by European Union shortly. This cannot last long. Few days later, I think maybe I'm too positive again, and maybe I should go.
And here's why. Crossfire on the streets of the capital. No one wants to be caught up in this. Or the oil depot on the outskirts of Kyiv, now a ball of fire spewing toxic fumes. Depriving the Ukrainians of fuel is essential if Moscow wants to conquer a city showing remarkable resilience. Before we left Kyiv, we bumped into Sviatoslav Jurash, Ukraine's youngest member of parliament, with the latest must-have accessory.
They were essentially giving us the guns, option to have the guns if we want to protect ourselves.
And what kind of gun is it?
That's AKM-74.
Have you used it before?
I had some run-ins, but I'm not exactly experienced. But this is a skill you learn fast when you need to protect your life.
Is there a danger with so many civilians, untrained civilians like you having guns?
There's so many dangers, so many Russians having guns and trying to kill those civilians.
This war is a steep learning curve for everyone. First, Poland. They've welcomed all refugees from Ukraine with open arms. But in this instance, it appears that isn't the case if you're black. These were African students stuck at the border, forbidden by the Polish police and army to cross over. But also a learning curve for Germany. Here, a standing ovation for the Ukrainian ambassador in Berlin. The masks, a reminder that calamities travel in packs these days.
We want peace, no war.
After weeks of criticism from its allies and domestic pressure in the form of huge anti-Putin demonstrations, Germany isn't just sending arms to Ukraine, it is also increasing its spending to have the biggest military budget in Europe. The country has finally found a way of stepping over the long shadow of its history. Germany rearms, Europe relieved. There's another headline you didn't see coming.
And Poland has denied that any black refugees have been barred from entering the country at its border with Ukraine. As we were reporting, social media footage has emerged appearing to show groups of black refugees, many of them students, gathered close to where we are now, with some claiming that they have been refused entry for days because of the color of their skin. The Office of Poland's Prime Minister this afternoon tweeted, "There is no discrimination." Meanwhile, Nigeria's Foreign Minister has tweeted that he raised the issue with his Ukrainian counterpart and was told that Ukraine's border forces had been...
The people in the city of Dnipro are now preparing for war. The music of war, bottles that once held beer or soft drinks being prepared as Molotov cocktails to throw at Russian tanks. People here call them Putin's smoothies. And will you throw the Molotov cocktail yourself?
Yeah, I personally, yes.
But my mother very against this, but
Your mother isn't very happy about that?
Of course.
So why will you do it if your mother says no?
Because...
It's emotional, especially for young people who just last week were thinking of maybe getting married or studying in Europe, having a normal life. Like 24-year-old Maria, hoping to succeed as an artist.
It's my country, it's my city, it's my people, and it hurts when another country try to throw it away from us. And I don't want to run, I don't scared, I feel only angry.
She might be at a jumble sale trying on a shirt for size, but it'll be torn up to use as a rag in a Molotov bottle, along with smashed up polystyrene, some of which came from the walls of the music studio that Maxime recently built. Could you ever have imagined being in this situation?
No, but look, I must say that our generation, we were like smiling after we heard some war stories about the grandfathers that fight Nazism. Like it was like tales or something, and smiled. But now we are there. We are like our grandfathers.
So is your generation up to it?
Yes, yes. And I must say the next thing. If Putin had thought that he can conquer us, he mistaken big time.
President Putin's pretense that he's defending Ukraine's Russian speakers has been turned on its head.
Nobody in Ukrainian won't speak Russian anymore, because this language is language of our enemy.
The people of Dnipro are collecting medical supplies and anything else that might be useful for the troops and volunteer defence forces. Water as well. The prospect of war has united this city, but the reality may yet spawn cruelty and division.